Discover how a blind Omega changed everything at the mating ceremony, leaving 500 hearts touched. Emma stood at the edge of the town square, her heart pounding in tune with the spring air thickened with anticipation. The annual mating ceremony was upon Willow Creek, and this year, she was determined to claim her place among the hopefuls. Each spring, couples exchanged glances, sparks lit in their eyes, their lives interwoven with the traditions that seemed etched into the fabric of their lives. But there she was, a blind Omega, yearning to take part, knowing all too well that the world often cast her aside with pity and misunderstanding. The scent of blooming wildflowers filled her senses, the sweet notes of lilac and honeysuckle swirling around her. Emma could almost hear the whispers behind her as townsfolk exchanged glances composed of warmth and unintentional disdain. Her parents had urged her to stay home, fearful of how their daughter, perceived through a lens of disability, would fit into the bright tapestry of expectation that was the mating ceremony. You don't want them to see you fail, they worried, the soft tremor in their voices evident. But Emma's heart surged with hope and stubbornness. She envisioned the American dream, a life molded through grit and determination. With each step she took, doubts clawed at her, sheer determination battling the weight of societal prejudices. She brushed past vibrant decorations, heard laughter and chatter float through the air, and the cheerful strumming of guitars. The moment felt electric, but also daunting. Clenching her fists, she took a deep breath. Maybe she wasn't just a participant, she could be a voice, a statement. The ceremony set forth, couples pairing off, hearts connecting. And yet, tension danced in the air, fueled by harsh words whispered by a community leader she overheard coincidentally. They questioned her presence, smirking as though they could predict disaster. Anger flared inside her. She felt a shift within her, a quiet fire igniting. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The day spiraled into chaos, as a sudden gust of wind scattered the paper decorations like fallen leaves, igniting an atmosphere of uncertainty. Emma could hear laughter, and it was almost liberating. Her pulse quickened, a reminder of the chaos that often precedes true change. When her heart raced like a wild horse, she felt a surge to step forward. As another participant faltered, a silence fell over the crowd. Emma seized the moment and stepped into the light. With a voice that trembled at first but quickly held power, she shared her vision for a community that could elevate and uplift. She spoke of leading cleanups and making spaces inclusive, her heart pouring out like a river. Those who had looked at her with pity began to listen, and a ripple of understanding washed over the crowd. And as the stars twinkled overhead, Emma's future dangled on a precipice. Would she be met with acceptance, or would the town cling to its old ways? More importantly, as her heart raced with adrenaline, she realized this might just be the beginning of something bigger than she had ever dreamed. Emma's voice echoed against the night sky, unheard at first, then resonating in the silence that enveloped the townsfolk. She felt the shift, emotions rippling through the crowd, challenging the preconceived notions they had held tightly for years. Steeling herself, she continued, what if we embraced every one of us as part of this community? No matter our differences, blindness, or anything else, we all belong to each other. A hush fell over the crowd, replaced by murmurs that swirled around like the gentle night breeze. Emma could almost hear the gears turning in their minds, hearts hesitating but curious. For the first time, she felt she was more than just a blind girl. She was a person, a vibrant piece of the town's puzzle, pushing back against the stigma. Suddenly, she sensed someone stepping forward. It was Jacob, a familiar face from her childhood, a boy who had always called her friend but now seemed conflicted. The crowd parted as he stood on the edge, visible promise mingling with uncertainty. Emma, he started, his voice shaky, you should be proud of what you're doing. It's not just about the bonding tonight, it's about all of us forming a bond we need to change. Cheers erupted around her, but with them came the uncomfortable sounds of dissent. A deep voice from the back shouted out, maybe some people just can't fit. The words hit her like cold water, freezing the moment. Emma's heart sank, fury igniting inside her. But then she remembered the vision she had before stepping onto that stage. Standing tall, she met the eye of the crowd once more, her breath steadying. And what is fit? It's time to redefine it. Not through the confines of traditions but with a spirit that welcomes, nurtures, and uplifts. As if on cue, Jacob stepped closer, determination shining in his eyes. Yeah. Let us not just settle for looks or appearances. Our strength lies in united hearts. That's what makes Willow Creek special. The murmuring faced Jacob like a force pushing back, but slowly, Emma sensed a shift, a moment of understanding blossoming amid the noise. She could almost hear the collective realization rising with the scent of lilac swaying in the breeze. Perhaps, just perhaps, the essence of community was finally coming to light. Let us celebrate our differences. Emma pressed, her voice stronger. Let us gather all strengths, weaknesses, and every bit of individuality to create a vibrant community that honors every single person. She felt tears brimming in her eyes, but this time they were hopeful. The applause erupted like thunder, echoing through the night. Each clap and cheer shook Emma, gifting her courage yet again. As the stars twinkled above, she could feel their glow illuminating a path forward, a path to change, acceptance, and maybe even love. The night continued, filled with laughter and winding conversations. But Emma couldn't shake a feeling deep down. This was just the beginning of something monumental, something that could shake the very core of Willow Creek. She turned to Jacob, who stood beaming beside her, and said, "Are you ready for more?" As the words left her lips, she felt an unexplainable shiver run through her. What lay ahead was yet unknown, an unpredictable future waiting with open arms. And just as thoughts of glory danced intriguingly in her mind, a figure emerged from the shadows, their expression unreadable, eyes intent. It was someone she never expected to see there, and the impact of their arrival could change everything. Who could it be? And what would they mean for Emma and her burgeoning vision for Willow Creek? Emma's heart raced as the figure stepped into the light. She strained her senses, wanting to recognize the presence familiar and yet foreign. The whispers around her faded, the anticipation electrifying the air. Everyone was holding their breath, waiting to see who it was. Suddenly, a voice sliced through the silence. "It can't be!" A mix of shock and disbelief rippled through the crowd. Emma instinctively turned her head slightly, trying to pinpoint the sound. The voice belonged to Sarah, her childhood rival. The girl who had never understood Emma's struggles, a girl whose laughter had sometimes been like nails on a chalkboard. "It's her," Sarah said again, stepping forward. "I thought you moved away for good." There was a flicker of unease in her tone, but something else too, curiosity, perhaps a hint of vulnerability. "Sarah," Emma breathed, recognizing the familiar cadence. Memories surged. They had once played together, sharing secrets and dreams beneath the grand oak tree beside the school. But there had also been unspoken tension, rising like smoke every time they met. The murmurs within the crowd turned to a chorus of voices, each trying to piece the puzzle together. Some welcomed Sarah's surprise return, while others remained skeptical. Emma felt the weight of their stares, but she could only focus on Sarah now. "You?" Emma finally managed, her voice wavering between disbelief and hope. "Why are you here?" Sarah took a step closer, the awkwardness between them palpable. "I came to reclaim what I lost," she said, her eyes shimmering. "I thought it might be different now. After all these years I wanted to see if we could fix things." Emma's instincts kicked in. Was Sarah here to cause trouble, or was she genuinely reaching out? The stirrings in her heart urged her to believe in the second possibility, if only for a moment. As the crowd continued to buzz, Jacob moved to Emma's side, casting her a reassuring glance. "Whatever this is about, you can handle it," he whispered, his steady presence grounding her. Emma took a breath and steeled herself. "It's history between us, Sarah. There's been hurt on both sides." "I know," Sarah's voice softened. "But maybe tonight is about healing, like you said. We can't move forward without acknowledging our past." There was a longing in her voice, a touch of sincerity that warmed Emma's chest. Emma's heart felt heavy with memories that threatened to drown her. Could they really turn a bitter past into something life-changing? As she mulled over possibilities, Emma caught the shimmers of approving smiles in the crowd, many nodding like they understood the shared pieces of pain and growth. But then another voice shouted, cutting through the same dissenting voice from earlier. You can't just change like that. Some things are better left in the past. And then it happened. An unexpected ripple began to spread through the crowd. A few others echoed the dissent while several joined Emma, rallying behind her vision. The support surged around her, igniting the echoes of hope, but strife was heavily palpable too. Emma glanced back at Sarah. We have to fight for this, she said, her voice suddenly fierce. Are we willing to redefine what it means to belong? A murmur of agreement arose, making Emma's resolve stronger. But as Sarah nodded, a spark lit a flame of determination in the crowd, pushing back against the negativity. Emma took a step forward, her heart pounding. Let us show them, she said. Show them what unity looks like, despite our differences. But behind the spark of excitement, uncertainty lingered thick in the air, just waiting to erupt. Could they truly bridge the past with the present? Emma was about to find out as the ground beneath them began to tremble with emotions yet unexpressed, and the shadows loomed, ready to challenge the newly ignited hope. What would Sarah's answer reveal? Was this the moment for unity, or would the shadows of the past find a way to tear them apart once and for all? Emma could feel the tension crackling in the air as Sarah stood there, her expression a mix of uncertainty and hope. The crowd seemed frozen, caught in this moment of potential and dread. Are we really ready to face this? Emma thought, her inner voice a whisper of doubt. The cheers and the shouts of dissent swirled around her, a cacophony of emotions crashing against each other. With every passing heartbeat, the gravity of her choice settled in deeper. Emma, Jacob said softly, shifting closer, his presence offering some solace amidst the storm. You don't have to do this alone. Emma admired him for that, his strength, his unwavering support. It reminded her that this confrontation didn't just involve her and Sarah, it was about everyone who had been touched by their fractured histories. Taking a deep breath, she turned back to Sarah, who was still waiting for an answer, eyes wide with anticipation. Okay, Emma started, her voice steadier than she felt. If we're going to try, we should do it together. No more pretending, no more hiding. They're right, though, Sarah said, her voice just above a whisper. What if the past is too heavy? What if we can't carry it? We can't know until we try, Emma replied, determination rising within her. For every wound, there's a chance to heal. If we both are willing, we can start mending this. Together. The crowd held its breath, waiting. Moments stretched, drawing out the unspoken fears. Emma felt her heart race, mixing fear with something sweeter, a hint of possibility. Let us show them, Jacob chimed in, his encouragement ringing like a bell through the chaos. Show them that reconciliation is possible. You both hold the power to change this narrative. As the murmurs of the crowd began to grow louder, some clapped, while others were still uncertain. It felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. With each heartbeat, the weight of their past seemed to lift, replaced by a breath of fresh air. Okay, Sarah finally murmured, the weight of her own reservations visibly lifting. Together. The words hung in the air, charged with new energy. Emma nodded, feeling the flicker of hope ignite a fire within her. This was a turning point. The crowd erupted into supportive cheers, while a few skeptics still lingered, arms folded across their chests. Emma could see their reluctance, but determination surged within her. They needed to move forward with authenticity and bravery, even if it meant facing the shadows that had haunted them both. Let us share our stories, Emma suggested, her voice ringing clearly above the noise. Let us let everyone here know why we're standing together tonight. We owe it to ourselves and to all of you. The murmurs quieted as people began to lean in, curiosity piqued. Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes searching Emma's for reassurance. Emma squeezed her hand lightly. This was their moment, but just as Sarah opened her mouth to speak, the ground beneath them trembled once more, sending a wave of panic through the crowd. Emma's heart raced again, not from fear this time, but from the realization that the moment they had hoped for was teetering on the edge of chaos, what could this new shift mean? Would they find a way through, or would the unexpected turmoil pull them apart before they could even begin? Emma felt her resolve solidifying, but the echo of uncertainty loomed just as large. Maybe the answers lie ahead, she murmured, her mind racing as she struggled to keep the hope alive. Would they confront the shadows together, or would the tremors of the past fracture their fragile unification before it even began? Emma's heart raced as the tremors beneath their feet intensified, spreading a fresh wave of anxiety through the crowd. Gasps rippled like a stone tossed into a still pond. Shadows lengthened in her mind, memories creeping back with a haunting clarity. Is it over? Already? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Had they come so far only to be pushed back into darkness? Everyone, stay calm, shouted Jacob, his voice cutting through the mounting panic. He held up a hand, trying to bring some order, but the chaos made it difficult. Let us make sure everyone is safe, Emma urged, her voice steadying. She locked eyes with Sarah, whose face reflected Emma's own fear. Yet, amid the uncertainty, a flicker of determination danced in Sarah's expression. Are we just going to stand here? We need to move to higher ground. Sarah's voice broke through her fear, cutting with surprising conviction. Emma nodded, feeling a sense of urgency. Yes, we'll do it together. Not just us, but all of us. The crowd began to shift, a wave of bodies moving toward a more stable area outside the building. It wasn't easy. Some people fought against the tide, clinging to indecision. Emma felt Jacob at her side, matching her strides as she forged ahead. This isn't just about us anymore, he said, jaw set. We're all in this together. They pushed forward, adrenaline pumping through them. Emma felt her spirit lift even as the ground shook erratically beneath them. Take care of each other, she thought, as her heart beat in syncopation with the chaos. As they reached a small hill at the edge of the gathering, Emma turned to look back. The crowd had coalesced into a tight knot, fear still painting some faces while others looked resolute, emboldened by the shared experience. Okay, now. She grabbed Sarah's hand tightly. No more holding back. Let us tell them our stories. They deserve to understand. Sarah took a deep breath, the pride in her eyes overtaking the fear. We have to show them that we're stronger together. Not just us, but all of us. We all bear scars. As she spoke, the ground stopped trembling, leaving behind an unsettling silence that contrasted sharply with the previous chaos. The crowd quieted, anticipation building again. Emma's breath hitched in her throat as she prepared to voice her own past. Just then, a tremor of a different kind rippled through the crowd, the essence of vulnerability, the weight of secrets, and the yearning for connection. She saw attendees exchanging glances, recognizing pieces of themselves in each other. People were remembering their own histories, and openings began to emerge. Everyone has a story, a burden, she said, her voice clearer, pulling from the energy surrounding them. And we are not defined by our pasts, but by how we face them together. A few in the crowd nodded. Others brushed away silent tears. Emma felt the emotion swell, a wave crashing against the shore, the first step toward healing. But in that poignant moment, another tremor shook the ground, though no one moved. A distant rumble echoed, not from the earth this time, but from somewhere deep within the hearts of those assembled. It was a growl, not of fear, but a sound of awakening. What was that? Sarah asked, her brows knitting together, uncertainty tinging her tone. Emma's heart sank as she realized this conflict wasn't over. They had awakened something. Whatever it is, we're ready for it, Emma replied, fierce determination resounding in her voice. We can't turn back now. The weight of the moment settled heavily, but so did a sense of hope. They needed to prepare not just for the storm, but for whatever awaited them. Would they face the deeper truths of their pasts, or would they allow the shadows to reclaim them before they ever stepped fully into the light? What do you think is coming? She whispered to Jacob, feeling the gravity of their choices heavy in the air once more as a hush fell over them all. Emma's breath caught in her throat. The intense quiet felt like a thick blanket smothering any flicker of hope they'd ignited together. Yet, the unease lingered, clawing at her insides. Jacob's presence at her side steadied her, but she could see anticipation written across every face around them. As the echoes of that growl faded into the distance, a sense of purpose began to weave through the crowd. They were no longer just a group of terrified individuals, they were becoming a community, bound by their shared resolve. Emma could feel the energy shift, a humming undercurrent pushing them forward, even in the face of uncertainty. "Let South stay close," Jacob urged, scanning the growing darkness beyond the hill. Emma nodded, squeezing Sarah's hand, determined to hold on to that flicker of strength. They needed to draw from one another. It was as if the tremors had unearthed buried strength and fragility alike. "Maybe we should all share something," Sarah suggested, stepping forward despite her obvious nerves. "We've felt so alone for too long. Sharing might remind us we're not." "Yeah." A voice from the crowd shouted, a ripple of encouragement spreading like wildfire. "Let us open up." Emma glanced around. The idea, while daunting, felt right. They were all on a precipice, teetering between fear and the unknown, and sharing stories could anchor them in something stronger than apprehension. "Okay," Emma said, her voice gathering confidence as it resonated through the crowd. "Who wants to start?" A woman stepped forward, trembling slightly but with a fierce glint of defiance lighting her eyes. "I lost my brother in the last quake. At first, I felt like I was drowning in my grief, but we have to keep standing up for those we've lost." Her voice cracked and a few faces around her softened with understanding, while others brushed away quiet tears. More voices followed, and each was a thread weaving them closer. A man shared how he'd lost his home but found comfort in his friends. An older gentleman spoke of his childhood memories, echoes that felt both joyous and painful. Emma listened intently, her heart swelling as strength blossomed with each shared story. As the tales unfolded, the shadows that clung to each of them began to fade. They were becoming each other's light, forming a tapestry of love, loss, and survival. The fear that had gripped the crowd evolved into a fierce determination. Then, without warning, the earth beneath them stirred again, but this time it felt different, more like a warning than mere chaos. Emma's chest tightened, but she refused to let fear take root. "Listen," she called out, her voice resolute. "We stand together, no matter what's coming. We've shared our wounds, and that makes us stronger. This is our moment." The crowd erupted into murmurs of agreement, voices intertwined, lifting the air into a collective crescendo. Emma felt the vibration of their unity, powerful and electric, and then the tremors roared back, but this time it was no ordinary quake. The ground split open in front of them, a dark chasm yawning wide, pulling at the screams that bubbled up from the crowd. "Now, we prepare to face whatever emerges," Jacob shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. As they watched the dark void before them, it became clear that this was not merely a natural disaster. It was a reckoning. A moment to confront everything they had buried in their souls. "Stay close," Emma yelled, gripping Sarah and Jacob's hands tighter. "Together. We want to let the shadows claim us." As they stood on the edge, uncertain yet resolute, a sense of foreboding filled the air. What was awakening from that crack in the earth? Would they rise as one, or be swallowed whole? None of them knew what lay ahead, but they had to face it together. And as the darkness broadened, Emma's voice rose above all, echoing the crescendo of hope and terror. "Whatever it is, we will not surrender." But as the silence seemed to shatter, the shadows began to stir, revealing ominous shapes within the depths. What lay in wait? Would the fears they thought they had conquered rise from the darkness, or would they emerge as victors, stronger than before? The air grew thick with tension as a low rumble echoed from the chasm, like a beast awakening from a long slumber. Emma's heart raced, every beat pounding in her ears. The ground quaked beneath them, rippling in chaotic waves. Shadows shifted and swirled from the depths, hints of movement barely visible in the gloom. "Stay steady," she shouted, though her own voice wavered just like the earth. The crowd pressed closer, an unyielding wall of solidarity against the rising darkness. Faces were a collage of fear and determination, their eyes reflecting a mingling of hope and dread. Jacob took a step forward, eyes fixed on the darkness. "We have to stand our ground. We face this together. His voice rang out, cutting through the growing chaos. Emma felt the strength in his words, grounding her as the shadows began to take form. What if it's too powerful? Someone asked, fear cracking the voice. Whispers of doubt sprang forth, creeping into the crowd like the creeping darkness itself. Then we raise our voices higher. Sarah yelled, her bravery surprising even herself. We've already shared our pain. Now let us show that we have each other's back. Another voice replied, emboldened. Let us lift each other up no matter what happens. The people surged together, a wave of connection flowing through them, binding their hearts and hopes. Emma felt her spirit lift as the energy shifted among the group, replacing fear with a fierce, collective strength. With one loud, determined breath, she shouted, let us sing. Let us remind the world who we are and that we won't back down. Tentative voices trickled in, filling the air, all shining light into the crack in the earth. The hum of their song melded, building into a chorus of defiance, ringing out like a challenge to whatever lay below. The ground shook violently, a furious response to their determination. The shadows swirled wildly, but the voices grew louder. Emma stood in the center, hands clasped, sharing calmness and grit. It was as if the very air around them hummed with power, their unity igniting a spark that chased away the dark. Then, with a great crack, something broke through the surface. A shadowy figure emerged, looming and horrific, yet oddly familiar. Emma's heart beat faster, but she didn't step back. Face it, whatever it is. She shouted, her voice stronger than before. Together. It rippled forth, a swirling mass of emotions, seemingly formed from their fears. She could see glimpses of their pasts reflected in its form: grief, anger, longing, and loss. Even the painful stories shared moments before found a place in its darkness. But Emma refused to cower. Jacob stood at her side, fists clenched. We don't let it control us. We own our stories. You might scare us, but we decided to fight. The crowd erupted in a roar of agreement, a wave of sound that pulsed through the air. Something shifted. Watching intently, Emma felt the shadows flicker, as if they were examining the very essence of the crowd. Will you accept us? Emma called out, her voice shaking. We are not only our pain. We are also love, strength, hope. At that moment, the figure paused, hanging in limbo between light and shadow. Something glimmered in transparency. She could see fear loosening its tight grip on the entity. But just as Emma thought they had made a breakthrough, the ground beneath them trembled violently again. Emma! Sarah cried out as the chasm broadened, and Emma's heart sank. Would their newfound unity be enough to push back the oncoming tide of darkness, or would they be devoured by their past? As the figure loomed closer, Emma's breath caught. They were on the brink of something monumental, yet terrifying. What awaited them on the horizon of this chaos? Would they rise above their shadows, or would the darkness swallow their hopes whole? The earth shuddered more violently, sending a reverberation through the crowd that felt like a drumbeat of a racing heart. Emma could see fear seeping into the edges of the crowd's bravery, as though the very shadows were weaving themselves into their minds. She pushed against the unease, trying to channel the collective energy into something potent and radiant. Don't let it win. She cried, clutching Jacob's hand tightly. The motion anchored her, reminding her that she wasn't alone. Around them, faces mirrored her determination. Eyes blazed with purpose, and the song surged again, becoming a raw force that filled the chasm, igniting the air with possibility. But the hulking figure before them didn't retreat. Instead, it expanded, pulling itself from the earth with an intent that made her skin prickle. The swirling mass was now congealed into the clear outlines of anguished faces, each one familiar. Memories froze momentarily, each expression a testament to the hurt they had all endured. Why do you fight? A voice resonated from the shadows, deep and echoing, fueled by centuries of pain. Because we're more than our hurt. Jacob shouted back, his voice steadying the tremor in the ground beneath them. We've come together to heal, not to hide. That's right. Emma rallied, her heart swelling with strength. We're not defined by what's below but by what we carry within us. We are stronger together. The figure paused again, its shadows flickering like a flame caught in the wind. The air grew thick with uncertainty, and Emma could feel the weight of a collective breath held tight. Around her, voices intertwined, a chorus growing bolder. But as they sang for love, acceptance, and the beauty of their shared struggles, the ground rumbled ominously, as if things were shifting beneath the surface. "Can you forgive us?" The shadows whispered. "Can you embrace the darkness we bring?" Their song faltered momentarily, doubt creeping in like a thief. Emma took a deep breath, remembering her own fears, the doubts that had almost swallowed her whole. "It's not about forgetting," she called out, her voice filled with fierce conviction. "It's about understanding. We've suffered, but we've also learned to rise." The swirling shadows hesitated, momentarily suspended in time, and Emma seized the opportunity. "Let us tell the world our truth. Let us embrace all of it, our scars, our joys. We are the culmination of everything we've faced." The crowd roared its approval again, their hopes converging in an ethereal light. Together, they confronted their deepest selves in defiance of the haunting shadows. Yet, just as they began to turn the tide, the figure lunged forward, its mass tearing through the air, attempting to engulf the light that had forged itself in strength and unity. Emma's heart raced. Panic slipped through her mind, spreading like wildfire, but she anchored herself in the presence of those around her. "Hold on to each other," she shouted, and instinctively, hands reached out and entwined. She could feel their collective heartbeat thrumming, blending into a singular pulse that pushed against the darkness. "Together," they shouted, matching the rising intensity of the figure's lunge, and in that moment, something extraordinary happened. The shadows halted, reverberating in confusion. Perhaps it was the warmth of love that ebbed through the crowd or the magic of acceptance filling the air. But as the light expanded and the shadows flickered and drew back, deep in that darkness lay the echo of a truth that acceptance is both a gift and a burden. "Emma." Jacob's voice broke through, a mixture of urgency and hope, and she realized they were teetering on a precipice. An opening widened behind the figure, promising light beyond. Yet would they leap into the unknown, or would fear drag them back into the abyss? As the surge of shadows swirled with renewed aggression, Emma swallowed hard, facing the final stretch of their fight. Would they embrace the light that awaited them, or succumb to the weight of their past? Her heart quickened as she prepared for the next step. Would they find the answer they longed for, or would the shadows reclaim their hold? The figure lunged, a dark mass that churned restlessly like a living storm. Emma felt the heat of its malevolence brush against her skin, but she didn't waver. Jacob's grip remained steady, a lifeline in a sea of uncertainty. "Keep singing," she urged, her voice rising above the cacophony of fear. The melody surged back, a wave of unity that interlaced their hearts. The crowd tightened their circle, their faces set with determination. Suddenly, the earth beneath them bucked violently. A deep crack split the ground, and a chorus of gasps echoed. Yet, Emma realized, this was not merely the tremor of fear. It was a call to action. Beneath the surface was hope battling against despair. "It's our moment," she shouted, her heart racing. "The cracks show how far we've come." With renewed fervor, the crowd sang louder, their voices piercing through the darkness. Emma closed her eyes, letting the energy flow through her. In that moment, she envisioned all their struggles, the pain of loss, the burden of regret, and with each note, she shared that weight. "We are not alone," she yelled, feeling like a spark igniting a fire, and the shadows pulsed, wavering against their collective strength. More faces emerged, but this time, they were no longer twisted in anguish. They transformed, illuminated by the light that arose from acceptance. Some spectral figures smiled, others wept, reflecting the catharsis that had long awaited them. "Don't be afraid. Let go of your pain," Jacob cried, his voice a beacon guiding lost souls. Emma opened her eyes, seeing echoes of her friends, loved ones, all rising with a warmth that pushed back the encroaching darkness. The hulking figure began to retreat, uncertainty flickering like a candle's flame. For every step they took forward, the mass seemed to shrink, unraveling into streams of shadow that flew up into the night sky above. Yet, a slow pulse of regret hung in the air, a reluctance born from years of being defined by their trauma. "Leave the pain behind," Emma urged, noticing a wave of hesitation wash over some. "Embrace your truth, but don't let it hold you captive. We are free. We are enough." As her words echoed through the air, the crowd responded with a roar, the vibrancy of their emotions setting the atmosphere ablaze. They were more than ghosts of sorrow now, they were warriors stepping into the light. Each note became a sword, slicing through the shadows of their former selves, but even as hope soared, Emma felt a presence lingering at the edge of her awareness. A deep, resonant voice still haunted her thoughts. "You cannot escape me," it whispered, and she realized that the fight was not just against the figure but within themselves. Suddenly, her vision blurred, and she saw the darkness within a myriad of fears threatening to pull her back. It whispered tempting thoughts about doubt. "Emma, don't you want to hide?" It taunted softly. "What if you fail?" "Shut up," she shouted at the void. "I'm done with all of you. I refuse to be boxed in by fears." And she took a step toward the light beckoning behind the fading shadows. The crowd mirrored her, taking each step as if cementing their collective resolve, but just as hope began to break through the darkness, a deep tremor rocked the ground yet again. They were close, but something primal fought back, reluctant to relinquish its hold. "Together we can do this," Jacob called, his voice unwavering amid the chaos. The crowd amassed the energy they needed, the spark of friendship, shared pain, and a burning desire for healing. The final hurdle loomed. Would they dive into the unknown, risking everything for the promise of a brighter tomorrow, or would they recoil in fear, losing the light they'd earned? Every heartbeat stitched together their resolve as they prepared to leap. Yet, as the air buzzed with anticipation, Emma couldn't shake the fear that perhaps the shadows had one last trick left to play. Emma stood at the edge of the chasm, heart pounding, feeling the weight of countless eyes on her as shadows flickered and pulsed. The very air crackled around them, both terrifying and exhilarating. They had come so far together, forged a bond amidst chaos, but the final challenge lay before them, confronting the darkness that mirrored their deepest fears. "We face this together," Jacob shouted, voice steady, eyes gleaming with belief. Emma took a deep breath, her resolve strengthening as she turned back to Sarah. "This is our moment. We've fought to get here, and now we can't let anything tear us apart." The chasm beneath them darkened, swirling with anger and regret. Yet every shared story, each moment of vulnerability, built something irreplaceable among the gathering. Their voices resonated in the night, echoing against the fears that licked at their heels. That a hulking form began to emerge from the darkness, shapes twisting, faces of the past flickering in protest. Something rose within Emma. It wasn't fear this time, but anger, and anger that stemmed from generations of pain and silence. "No more," she shouted, the command echoing powerfully. "We are reclaiming what's ours. Our stories, our voices, everything." Sarah stood beside her, eyes ablaze. "Together, we are strong. Whether you see my flaws or my beauty, I am here. I matter." The crowd rallied, fists raised. United under Emma and Sarah's call, their voices rose like a tidal wave against the looming figure. "We matter. We matter," they sang, underscoring their collective heartbeat, a symphony of healing. Within the chaos, Emma caught Jacob's eye, a depth of understanding passing between them. Unspoken words swirled through the air as they prepared to face the shadows together. "Together," she yelled again, feeling every voice beside her, merging hope and pride. The monstrous figure recoiled, flickering in and out of the shadows that defined it. "You cannot erase me," a voice bellowed from within, surging like a tidal wave, threatening to drown them all in despair. "Maybe not," Emma replied, stepping forward, her voice unyielding. "But we are not afraid anymore. We will carry our pasts, but they will not define us. We choose to rise." With a crack like thunder, the darkness surged, crawling against the light of their unity, trying to pull them back. Emma gripped Jacob and Sarah's hands tightly. They were no longer just individuals battling personal struggles, they were a united front against a tide of unrelenting anguish. Stand strong. Let us fill this darkness with our love. Jacob shouted, his heart echoing her own. The crowd roared back, their voices entwining, rising higher and higher. Light burst forth from their collective strength, illuminating the shadows threatening to engulf them. Emma saw faces in the darkness, not just lost souls, but reflections of their shared pain, their histories merging into something new. They were no longer enemies, they were stories waiting to be told, lessons yet to be learned. Let us embrace the beautiful chaos that makes us who we are. Emma cried, her voice rising above the fervor. All of us. Our scars and our triumphs. The swirling shadows hesitated, uncertainty flickering through their depths. As their song pulsed like a beacon, a shimmer began to break through, faint traces of light piercing the thick darkness. Every voice united struck against fear as the figure lost its monstrous form, flickers of vulnerability emerging instead. Join us. Emma shouted, heart wide open. Let the light in. It's time to forgive, to free ourselves. The darkness began to wane, colors melding and shifting as the crowd continued their harmonized plea for acceptance. We heal together. We grow together. And together, we shine. At that moment, a blinding light erupted from the ground where shadows once loomed, bathing the space in brilliance. The darkness shattered like glass, scattering into tiny shards that danced away on the wind. Gasps of joy surged through the audience as a collective exhale echoed in acknowledgement hope had triumphed. Amidst the jubilant cacophony, Emma caught a glimpse of familiar faces in the crowd, friends, mentors, and even those once lost to the shadows of misunderstanding. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she realized the transformation that had unfolded, like a metamorphosis born from a cocoon of struggle. And that's how we change, she whispered to the world. One story at a time. As the celebration erupted, Emma felt the warm embrace of support wrap around her. Jacob, Sarah, and the community stood together, hearts glowing, faces radiant with triumph. They had abolished the shadows, blending every piece of their past into the light. And in that moment, as laughter bubbled and future dreams filled the air, Emma knew they had only just begun to write their story. Let us gather each other's stories. Sarah exclaimed over the elation. Let us carry them forward. We are in this together, and we are unstoppable. And as the night wore on, laughter blossomed like wildflowers dancing in the breeze. The mating ceremony had shifted. Now it wasn't just an event. It had transformed into a powerful testament of resilience, acceptance, and community. This was the start of Willow Creek's new chapter. A chapter forged by hearts entwined, reminding the world of the strength found in unity, the bond that could forever echo in the stars above. Now more than ever, this was their moment to shine brightly. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.